All right, we ready?
Yeah.
Please stand for prayer and pledge. Dear Heavenly Father, we bow before you tonight and ask that you watch over us as we conduct the business of the village. We also ask that you watch over our sick and our shut-in and lend your comforting hand as required. In your name we pray, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, call a roll.
Flowers.
Here.
Kennel.
Yes.
Wright.
Here.
Phillips. Here. Householder. Here. Hart.
Council, as you can see, we have Councilman Hart is absent tonight, and also Mayor Pinkerton is absent tonight. So a motion would be in order to excuse both of those gentlemen due to illness.
So moved.
Second.
Whatever.
Motion by Flowers, seconded by Phillips. Clerk, call the roll.
Flowers.
Aye.
Kennel.
Yeah.
Wright.
Aye.
Phillips. Aye. Householder. Aye.
Reading and disposition of the minutes of the previous meeting, dated June 26, 2017. Council, what's your pleasure?
I make a motion to dispense with the readings of the minutes from the June 26th meeting.
Second.
Motion by Flowers, seconded by our Householder. Questions or comments?
There was one correction I wanted to make. Under the Parks and Recreation, the Scarpetti Foundation, they donated 4 new rims and backboards for the parks. So,
And backwards.
and backboards, yeah,
Okay.
just
Got
They
it.
do look nice.
Yeah, it looks
They
great.
look a lot better than what they did.
Oh, got it.
So we'll handle that as a typo. Any other questions or comments? Clerk, call a roll.
Flowers.
Aye.
Kennel.
Yes.
Wright.
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Householder. Aye.
Citizens' comments. Does any citizen have any comments tonight? Alrighty, moving on. We'll get back to you later in the meeting. Reading and referring of communications and petitions. From the mayor's office, he has 2 communications. One dated from July 16, 2017 from Todd Sage. It reads as, Mayor Pinkerton, as of July 17, 2017, I am resigning from my position as chairman of the Civil Service Committee for the Village of Sebring due to personal reasons. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to serve on the Civil Service Committee, as I have had a great learning experience serving the Village of Sebring. Please contact me if you have any questions during this transition. Signed, Todd E. Sage. So he has resigned from that committee. Also, we have a District Board of Health letter to Sebring Mansion dated July 12, 2017, and it related to unlicensed swimming pools / spas. So they have directed them to cease and desist operation of any pool or spa that they may have on site. That's all I have, Clerk. Do you have anything tonight?
That's all.
Manager, any?
No, sir.
Mr. Wright, did you, when talking to the mayor, did he have any ideas about who to replace civil service? Because we have to give a test here soon.
He told me he was going to reach out to somebody and he would let me know, but I assume that did not happen.
Okay.
If anybody has any suggestions, I would forward those to the mayor. And that the clerk and I will be checking his email, and I can get in contact with him, and we can make the appropriate decisions at that point.
Mr. President, I would mention that Civil Service still has a quorum of 2, so they still conduct business and do appointments.
All right. Yeah, and I know the chief has requested a updated patrolman's list, so you guys will be administered some tests, I guess.
Yes.
All right, I guess we're moving along. Unless Mr. Lavelle, do you have any communications and/or petitions?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lavelle is sitting in for Miss Tolson tonight. As most of you know, she was involved in an accident, so he is filling in her absence. We appreciate you coming out tonight and
I'm happy to do it.
Absolutely.
May I, Mr. President?
Yep.
Folks, for those who don't know, my name is Mark Lavelle. I'm an attorney. I have an office in Youngstown, in Boardman, actually. I myself was a councilman in the Middletown Village years ago for 8 years. Since Teresa's accident, and when we got the call or whatever, there's a handful of attorneys who kind of stepped up. Since that time, we've been running the court. I've had contact with the chief. We've been available to the police department for, I guess, questions, determine whether or not charges are appropriate. We've been running the court. I think it's gone very well so far, so good. Certainly be available to you, Mr. President, Council, Mr. Manager, whatever you folks need while this is going on. I assume most of you know the situation with Teresa Tolson, and if you don't, I'll be happy to fill you in when the time's appropriate. But in the meantime, I'll be happy to leave my contact information for anybody that wants it or needs it. My cursory review of the manager's report indicates there's some obligation here. You wanted to ask the solicitor, or you wanted to find out about the legality. Be happy to check into that as well. So whatever you folks need.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yep, thank you. All right. Report of council committee and council representatives. Finance, which is me, and finance did meet on July 18th here in council chambers at 6 o'clock. Attendees were Councilman Hart, Councilman Flowers, myself, Manager Giroux, and Mayor Pinkerton. Police Chief, or Fire Chief Brian Anderson, and Lieutenant Brian Bailey. And I apologize, I left those two off there. First item, we discussed about the trash aggregation, and we were given the bid package that Alliance had sent out. The committee has asked Manager Giroux to review and mark up changes so the solicitor could review, pending a possible bid, to send a bid out. And Mayor Pinkerton was also going to discuss some issues with the Alliance mayor. Fire Chief Anderson presented the committee with a list of items he would like to purchase from the fire levy fund, including a new hose washer, which was approximately $550, motion switches and some replacement fixtures, $4,070, 5 to 7 new sets of turnout gear for the additional staff he has added, and that's going to be roughly $2,000 to $2,500 per set, depending on if they need to get the boots. And extrication tools, which are the Jaws of Life, $38,944, and a set of mechanics tools for $1,300. So along those lines, the motion switches will be placed in every bay. So as you walk in and out, the lights will come on, and after so much time within activity, they will go out. So there's really never an opportunity for the light to stay on. He expects that to be a huge savings in their energy bill, especially when they come in, get in the trucks, the ambulance, and go. The lights normally just stay on. Well, now they will just go out when they leave. I can speak to that from experience. We have those in our shop in everything but one bay, and it is a big savings to the electric. And he has to replace some fixtures that are outdated. The only bay I don't believe that will, the large bay will not have the fixtures replaced, and they're still leaving those fixtures in there. The turnout gear is pretty self-explanatory. He has 5 to 7 members. He has received some gear back, but depending on the size of the person, sometimes it's a little bit hard. And I'll use Mr. Hubbs as an example. I mean, he's a smaller person, smaller bodied person, so he's not going to be able to give his gear to somebody that's a little bit bigger than him. The tools that they've asked for are replacements to their current sets, which are from the 1980s. These are battery operated sets, not hydraulically generator driven. In that set also will come a mini set that they will put in Rescue 1, so that if the squad goes out ahead of time and it's a motor vehicle accident and they have fire personnel on board, they can start the extrication before the truck arrives. So that was about $12,000 of that price included that additional tool. And then of course the mechanics tools for the mechanic. So did I miss anything, Mr. Flowers, from the meeting? I don't think that I did. So we have 2 sets of bill packages tonight. One dated from 6/24/2017 through 7/7/2017, and one 7/8/2017 through 7/21/2017. So, council, what's your pleasure on those?
Make a motion, we pay the bill when funds become available.
Second.
Motion by Householder, seconded by Flowers, to pay the bills when funds become available. The bills dated 7/8 through 7/21 were $341,229.54. And the ones dated 6/24 through 7/7 were $68,280.58. Is there any questions or comments on the bills? I guess under comments, 7/8 through 7/21, we paid the balance on the fireworks, which was $5,000. We paid some lab testing, I assume was water samples, to Mahoning County District Board of Health for $3,648. Software solutions for the extraction for Rita was $4,500. New siren controller for the fire department, which takes us off the AT&T, and I believe the manager will be talking about that in his bill or in his report. If not, he has already sent that out. $2,700 for that. Treasurer State of Ohio for the downtown revitalization loan and the carbon filtration loan was $54,564.53. Ohio Water Development Authority, which is water and wastewater, phosphorus bypasses, UVs, $171,429.41, and Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, $23,023.72. Anybody else have any questions or comments? If not, clerk, call the roll.
Flowers.
Aye.
Kennel.
Yeah.
Wright.
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Householder.
Aye.
All right, Legislative Committee, Mr. Kennel.
No meetings, sir, nothing in committee.
Capital Improvements, Ms. Householder.
No meeting, sir.
Annexation and Business and Land Development, Ms. Phillips.
No meeting.
Service Maintenance, Mr. Flowers.
Yes, Mr. Ray, Service Maintenance did meet on Monday, the 17th at 6 p.m. All committee members were present. Councilman Harp, the mayor, manager, Councilman Kennel, Service Director Sainer, Aaron Summers, Code Enforcement Officer. We have a couple things on the agenda. One was Shane brought in. He's building a house over on 20th Street. Wanted to discuss running a water line, which we don't have any issues with. However, we are waiting for him to get quotes from a contractor to see what his cost would be, and then we will go from there once he brings us those quotes. Well, he has not been in contact with you yet, right?
No, we just discussed the address, and that's all we
Okay.
discussed.
The other was electrical aggregation with First Energy, and the only thing we discussed there is the gentleman from First Energy is going to be here. Is it the 28th?
Next committee
14th.
meeting,
14th.
28th.
28th.
That's our next
council.
committee.
Okay, the last.
Or council.
Council meeting, the 28th
At 6:30.
at 6:30 to discuss the
So we'll have a workshop.
the opportunities and savings we've seen since joining that aggregation. Aaron Summers also gave us a small update on some of the things he's doing for code enforcement, and we adjourned at 6:45. Anything you want to add, Betty, Mr. Wright?
I just, we had that little discussion on the, maybe coming up with an ordinance for the,
Oh, for fencing.
for the fencing and the garages and different things like 2
setbacks.
feet.
The setbacks, yeah.
Sign.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, I forgot about that. And that'll be discussed at a meeting coming soon.
Right.
There was no action taken.
Okay.
Alrighty, moving along. Safety Committee, as Councilmember Harp, which is absent, but also Mr. Flowers and Mr. Kennel sit on there, and I don't believe we've had any meetings.
No meeting.
Parks and Recreation, Ms. Phillips.
Yes, they met July 13th. In attendance were all park board members except for Red Martin, who's excused for vacation. We also had Park Director Angel Ring, Chief Harris, Councilman Harp, and myself. We had a representative from the Sebring West Branch Fast Pitch Softball League. He has asked about naming one of the fields after someone, so he had come to another meeting earlier, and he actually took it upon himself. He got a quote for a sign to match the ones that we currently have. The board did, I believe Angel's getting 2 other quotes just to see, but they're gonna look to move forward with naming one of those other fields. The board members did ask about the possibility of the Ohio National Guard coming. We talked about the blight removal in Youngstown. They did that for like 2 weeks, so I said I would pass that along. They also wanted to follow up, which this was something I needed to ask the mayor. The building at Northside that's crumbling. I believe the mayor said he was going to check into that and have city employees work on that when they had time, because I think that they can just knock it down, he said. The one, it's just, yeah, there's like, yeah, there's nothing in it right now. It's just, there's a tree growing through it. I don't know,
Is it
so.
private property?
No.
It's in
it's
Northside
on-
Park.
We own it.
Okay, yeah, there was like an old bathroom in there. There's nothing in it right now, but, so,
The whole building he wants to have knocked down?
yeah, it's crumbling. It's a safety, yeah. So I can follow up with the mayor on that. He was at that meeting. He said he would
We'll
look
just
into that.
give that to Rick.
Okay.
He can
Yeah.
work with Bill and have Bill go over and take a look at it
Okay.
at least.
The Parks Board's also looking to regroup the Friends of the Parks program. I don't have any information on that, so I'm going to be looking into that, but if any other council member is familiar.
I believe I have all the information
Okay,
that Andy Safco had.
that's what they,
That got handed down to me, and I think I have it in my file cabinet downstairs. I'll take a look when I go home.
they wanted me to look into that. We did invite Police Chief Harris there. There were a lot of complaints at the parks, especially North Side, about just language and people abusing how they're using the parks. So we invited him just to have a discussion with the board and see if there was maybe some way we could alleviate some of that. It is hard because there's not as much supervision there as there is at Southside with the parks program that we have there. They are going to be putting up new signage that's going to be displaying the park rules. We did talk about any community members allowed to ask others to follow those rules in the park, but we did find out park boards members have the authority to ask people to leave if they're abusing the rules. So we're kind of policing it. We do drive by and kind of watch, but now they know that if they do see a problem, they are allowed to stop and ask them to please follow the rules or to leave. So we're going to be, they're looking at putting the signage up for that. They're working on the rules and all that, so I'll have an update later once they finalize that. They are looking to use Northside a little bit more. Like I said, maybe some programs, there used to be programs there in the past and there aren't anymore, so they're going to look into maybe starting that back up again over there. We did talk, Chief Harris talked about the juvenile offender program, which worked great after July 4th. They were able to clean the park for us, so that worked out well, and it looked great after they were done cleaning, so that was good. We did have some community members that were present. They brought up a neighborhood watch that could be used in the parks to alleviate some of the late night problems that they seem to have with language and people hanging out at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I believe he's going to be working with those individuals. They were basing it off the Sheriff's Association neighborhood watch, but but they're going to be in contact with you. Okay, so they're going to be working with Chief on that. We talked about July 4th a little bit. We did get a donation from KCB Express, which is Ivan Sweely does that with the train. That's his train company. He did bring the train, obviously. The kids love that. He did not charge the parks to bring that, and then he also made a donation. So we wanted to thank him for that.
Good.
Yes. Then they did officially vote. They would like Angel, the Parks Director, to become a full-time salary position. So we will be discussing that further in finance. And the next meeting is August 10th at 7 o'clock. So that's all I have for that.
So we did talk about Angel's salary, just so for the public and so everybody's clear. The park board has a very strong, they basically run the park system. The only thing we control are the salaries. So we've asked Sam to go back to them. There was some discrepancy on whether she was taking insurance or wasn't taking insurance. So as soon as we have that information, we'll move forward to modify the ordinance. I think it's a great hire. I think she does a wonderful job up there. personally, and it's not a very easy job to please everybody and work for 6 people. Right. So tell us all about it. So anyhow, yeah.
This was off topic, but I just wanted to thank the chief. I know we had some other complaints about some kids playing in the streets in different areas, and I addressed that with you, and I haven't seen or heard any other complaints, so thank you for that.
Tasers. Do we have tasers? Shop callers?
Cattle prods.
Cattle prods.
That's all I have for parks.
Okay. Planning and zoning, Ms. Householder.
No meeting.
Civil service, Mr. Flowers.
No meeting.
Fireman's Dependency Board, Mr. Kennel, Mr. Hart. No meeting?
No, it's once a year, we met already.
Okay. Veterans Memorial Maintenance Committee is myself, and we have not met since Memorial Day. And Retention Committee is the mayor, solicitor, and Mr. Melzer as a citizen. And I don't believe that they have met since our last council meeting. Alrighty, great, moving along. Manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fire Chief Anderson and I are currently working on a Bureau Workers' Compensation Firefighter Exposure to Elemental Elements Program grant. I know that's a mouthful, but short version is any qualified employers, which we are, that has a payroll equal to greater than $500,000 are eligible to a 5-to-1 matching grant for a maximum award of $15,000. So we need to forward the chief to Unit Logistics. The package is ready to go, and then that'll get shipped out. Requested some mural restoration project status from Ms. Schreckengost by phone. She indicated that the work was already prepaid and it will start in September. My office received duly executed copies for the agreement of participation for the regional government's contract. It's with Rita. That's the last of the documents to actually get the program off the ground, and now we're having weekly teleconferences and follow-ups to actually implement the program. So should be up and running on time by the beginning of the year, of next year. Roger Smith, who is the Director of Planning for Land Bank, advised my office that the owner of 136 West Maryland Avenue has redeemed the property with the County Treasurer. Therefore, it is no longer on the demolition list, and I would ask any council members, if you have a replacement project address, please let me know so we can prioritize and I can add it back to the list. Just as a follow-up, Land Bank has scheduled at least 13 properties for September for demo. This takes us down to 12, but we can maintain the list of 13 if we have a secondary property, so just let me know. The village received a rebate check of $14,088.99 from Ohio BWC. That's the village's good personnel work safety record, and that was deposited into the unappropriated general fund. Our last Tier 1 40 samples, which is every 6 months for copper testing, has been completed. All 40 sites passed and we're under OEPA regulations. And as a result of that, we have been very consistent on our meeting requirements. We are redrafting the letter to Director Butler to eliminate orders 4 through 7, so that's pending. The last time we submitted, they did remove 8. The ultimate goal is that if we can reduce the additional testing that we feel is no longer required, that should save the village about $5,000 a month, and that's part of the testing fees that you mentioned in the financial report. Chief Anderson has recommended the following individuals be appointed to the fire department. Mr. Philip Dickens of Beloit as a firefighter, Mark Stewart of Sebring as a firefighter, Malcolm Sayers of Sebring as a firefighter, and Mr. Stephen Woods as a firefighter EMT. Those appointments will be made after the completion of background checks. Earlier request, we received approval from Mahoney County Auditor to waive the requirement for the village to adopt a tax budget under the Ohio Revised Code for the calendar year. My office submits certificates of estimated resources each year instead, and this has been done for many years, so we'll get approval as usual. After many months of coordination and work by the staff and engineers, the village has submitted the required OEPA community corrosion control study. This was a very lengthy and expensive process. The documentation was submitted prior to the deadline. A copy of that was forwarded to council earlier, so that's a major milestone and a took about a year to do, but it is done. We received a credit from AT&T on our siren savings. This is something that President Wright was talking about. We received a credit of $3,574.50 for just 10 days. Staley Technologies installed a radio-based silent controller for $2,700, so the system already paid for itself, and we can expect nothing but savings from then on. I commend both PD and FD for coordinating the project. The teamwork went very well. Thank you very much. We're replacing our failed locating system in the service department for distribution. We're not only replacing it, but we're going to upgrade on the unit. Approximate cost was $5,000. It's an absolutely essential piece of property or piece of equipment, and it's for utility distribution line locations. And so I just want to let you know that that's being replaced. Last council, I reported that the ODPES Priority 1 grant for $4,575 was for the fire department. It was not for turnout gear, it was for EMS equipment. We did receive notification that we did get the award, so the turnout gear is a different grant which has already been submitted, and we should be getting some sort of notice on an award within the next 60 days. So that's an additional grant on top of that one. There was some update regarding changes to the RVI's code and our ordinances regarding income tax for the implementation of House Bill 49. There's a couple of key components which is in the report, and I can go through those. I would ask that the solicitor take a look and see if such adoption is necessary, especially in light of HB 5. So I'll ask Mr. Lavelle to take that over, and Mark, I'll go ahead and give you the documentation, forward that to you so you can take a look and let us know what we need to do. In addition to the FEMA grant for $150,000 we are pursuing for an emergency generator system at the water plant. I've recently submitted a pre-application to OMEA, that's Ohio Emergency Management Agency, for a hazard mitigation grant for $361,100. Our local match would only be $10,000. So in addition, if we get this grant, in addition to redoing the entire system, we can also make additional proactive safety upgrades. So I feel very confident that we'll get that. As a proactive measure to avoid any potential chlorine fluctuations in the water, we've already proceeding to replace the manual chlorine rotometer, which the operators do by hand. This is going to be an automated system. It's going to significantly decrease the amount of adjustments that need to be made at the plant, and we feel that it will, the automatic pacing will allow for much more superior treatment of the chlorine system above OEPA standards. So there's some details on that information on how that works. Where approximate cost is about $4,000. Last item I wanted to mention was Director Sanger reported to me this evening that the 14th Street water line has been completed. Thank you very much, Bill. I know that was a lot of work. All that remains is lawn restructuring and cleanup. So, Mr. President, that concludes my formal report.
Any questions for the manager?
I have a few.
Yes, sir.
How are we doing with the 3 burned out structures?
It's the same as we reported last time.
Huh?
Same as I reported last time.
So we're not doing anything about them?
They are in progress.
They're where?
In progress. They're being
In
worked on.
progress.
Yes, they're being worked on.
I see. How about the Shooty building over there?
That was submitted to the state, the county, and they are looking into that. The last information I got from Mr. Shoney was that the owner of the property of record was in a corporate name. However, the letter that we initially sent the request for rectification, that gentleman's name appeared as one of the corporate heads, so that's still being worked on as well.
So we're not doing anything with it?
I just explained to you that we're working on it.
Huh? How about the Turner May building?
Turner May building is scheduled for demolition. That was reported several months ago by Teresa that the owners were going to proceed with that, and from what I understand, they're going to do it.
How about the old bowling alley?
I'm not familiar with that project.
The roof's falling off it. You can't see that?
First I heard.
Okay.
Sad.
And the road channel lot, we doing anything with that?
The last scenario was that a couple years ago, the Attorney General's office, in conjunction with the OEPA, had adjudicated against the owner, who has been fined and the fines are continuing to rack up. So I would imagine at some point in the future that the fines will exceed the fair market value of the property, and the state would have the option to seize the property at that point. That's where it stands at this point.
Are we ever gonna have a shred day? With the council?
After the mayor has the retention meeting and declares a destruction date.
Are we?
After,
The mayor has to have a meeting, retention meeting. I know he has put all department heads, I believe, on notice to gather their stuff up to be shredded, but that's not a simple process. They have to submit forms that have to be approved in some cases.
How about painting the water tank? Are we still into that?
We have solicited quotes from a contractor for water tank maintenance. Those are under review.
And why is all the tape and the barrels around the drive-through downtown?
From what I understand, the structure is unsafe. I think it's due to stress cracks. I think that's being worked on by the owner.
And are we ever gonna blacktop any streets besides the ones that we're supposed to be gonna blacktop?
I think council, I mean, I'm not going to speak for the council.
What?
No, I'll speak to that. No, finance says we don't have any more paving money. The paving money we have is already allocated for those 2 streets, so we aren't going to do any additional unless we get savings back from those 2 streets. If we don't have to expend all the money we have budgeted, then absolutely we will put change orders on a couple of those side streets.
So
that
we
haven't
have no
paid.
money to pave streets?
No, we've already spent basically what we budgeted.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to pave approximately $900,000.
Huh?
We're going to pave approximately $900,000 worth of streets this year.
Yeah, I don't know, you know,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know
where,
how much we paid out or how much is in
what
the
was it,
account.
200 and,
What's in the account?
Well,
250, wasn't it?
yeah, there's 200,000, annually we earmark $200,000 for paving
Every year we do that?
every year that I've been here. Well, with the exception of 1 year, which we used 50,000 of it to reduce the note.
The note, yes.
But what we've been doing over the course of the last several years is using that money as match money for grants to pay more than the $150,000 would go. Perfect example, in 2015, my office solicited for and was awarded a $510,000 grant from the federal government. And the match was about $120,000.
That's for what street?
12th Street.
No,
12th Street.
15.
Cost us, I don't know.
This is the 12th Street project. The
Okay.
12th Street project, which is going to get paved this year in September, from one end of the city to the other. And from what I understand, the county is going to be doing the balance of 12th Street, so that's set for September. The other part of the about $130,000 is a match to $160,000 that I got in grant money from District 6. That's to pave California from 15th Street to Johnson. In 2015, I think it was, received $405,000 from, God, I can't remember who it was. Anyway, that's what we did the 15th Street project with, which was really badly needed and really needed.
What's California costing us?
I think it's $130,000 out of pocket, total.
$150,000?
I think it was $130 out of pocket. I think the total project's about
What's
$320.
12th Street costing us?
I think it's about $120. Those are
120?
Yeah, but it's a $670,000 project. The balance of it's grant money.
Okay, all right.
Anybody else have any questions for the manager? All right, report of other village officials. Any of the department heads have anything they would like to add to tonight's meeting? The solicitor, would you have anything you'd like to add to the meeting?
No, thank you, Mr. President.
All righty. All right, if nobody else has anything, then I guess we're moving along. Ordinances and resolutions. So under new business, we have one ordinance on tonight's agenda, and it's,
Mr. President,
yep,
make a motion to read by title only, ordinance 17-2017 by title only.
Second.
motion by Flowers, seconded by Householder. Questions or comments?
Mr. President, just briefly, the total for the equipment that the fire chief requested and that finance committee approved is about $47,000.
Okay.
I added an additional $1,000 just in case there was some overage because he only submitted quotes. So any balance will go back to the fire fund.
Yep. Clerk, call the roll.
Flowers.
Aye.
Kennel.
Yes.
Wright.
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Householder.
Aye.
Motion passes. We're back to citizens' comments. Any,
That was just read by title only.
oh, I'm sorry. Okay, don't tell the mayor I did that.
No.
17-2017 comes from Finance Committee, Councilmember Wright. It's an ordinance authorizing the purchase of needed tools and equipment for the Sebring Fire Department for the sum not to exceed $48,000 and declaring an emergency. Council, having heard the ordinance read by title only, what's your pleasure?
I make a motion to adopt the ordinance as read with the emergency clause.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Flowers, seconded by Phillips. Questions or comments? Under comments, it's basically everything that I read in the report: the hose washer, motion switches, turnout gear, extrication tools, and mechanics tools. No other questions? Clerk, call a roll.
Flowers.
Aye.
Kennel.
Yes.
Wright.
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Householder.
Aye.
All right, ordinance passes this time with the emergency clause. All righty, now we're on to citizens' comments. This is the second citizens' comments. Yes, ma'am, please stand and state your name.
Jan Weingart, 196 East Ohio. You mentioned Turner May was scheduled for demolition. Is there a date? I didn't hear it if there was.
No, ma'am. The only thing I can do is I can ask, I am in touch with Teresa, even though she's in the hospital, poor thing, but I can ask her for a rough date based on what they told her. From what I understood, it was supposed to happen either late summer or early fall. But I can confirm that after I talk to Teresa.
You want me to contact somebody? Is it being demolished by the owner?
Yeah, the owners, Teresa had contacted the owners of Turner May earlier, several months earlier. They indicated that they would proceed with the demolition, and I believe they gave her a date of sometime this summer or early fall, but Teresa knows the actual date.
Okay. I can look into that for her, and I can report back to the manager.
Okay, thank you.
Is that building owned by Turner and May?
Yes.
Any other citizens' comments? Any other business to be brought?
Yeah, Mr. President, with your indulgence, I'd like to call for an executive session with the solicitor, the manager, all of council, excluding Mr. Kennel, for possible litigation.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Motion by Flowers, seconded by Householder, to enter into executive session with all of council, the solicitor, and the manager, except for Councilman Kennel and its pending litigation.
Anything to go on afterwards?
No action to be taken at this time.
So I can leave? Huh?
All right. Clerk, call the roll.
Flowers.
Aye.
Kennel.
Yeah.
Wright.
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Householder.
Aye.
All right, this council is in executive session.
In case you wanted to. Just be in the sign, but I